Oh, let's see. All right. Barrister, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, Yetunde, good afternoon, everyone. I see everyone saying hello. I'm saying hello back to everyone. Let's see, where is Yetunde? Mama Tuzi, kindly send in your request. Let's see, I should be able to request you. Uh-oh. Mama Tuzi, kindly send in a request, please.
Yeah,
All right, let's see.
let's keep
She
going.
sent it already. Yeah. So we can move real quickly. Well, that has been discarded already. So this is a fresh one. So I'll do the intro again and all of that stuff. All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone. And welcome to the Tinubu Shettima APC PCC 2023 Diaspora Directorate Pitch the Plan Series, Episode 6. This is on oil and gas. This is what we do every Sunday to go into details to explain the Pitch the Plan, the Renewed Hope 2023. This is the manifesto, or otherwise called the action plan. And we do this every Sunday. And I implore that you guys download it. And we are here, should you not be able to, want to read about 80 pages and all of that, we are here to actually explain what is in it in details. And if you have questions, you can always ask your questions and we'll be able to answer the questions. And without further ado, I would just like to talk about what I showed you, or where we are, or where we were, where we are, and Ashwaju's plan. And that's when we'll begin to talk. So basically, Nigeria is blessed with a lot of oil and gas. When I mean oil, I mean crude oil. And when I mean gas, I mean natural gas. Nigeria actually has over 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in reserves. And with our oil production as of today, it's about 1.4 million barrels per day. Sometime last month, it dropped to about 950,000 barrels per day. And I think, was it 2 months back? And then there was a contract that was awarded, the security contract that was awarded to Tompolo. And by awarding in that contract, we have seen in a month that our production has improved by almost 50%. So that is where we are today. I think OPEC give us a cap. I think OPEC give us, is it 1.8 or 2 million barrels per day? That is supposed to be our target. But we are not able to meet that target. And why aren't we able to meet that target? Vandalism, people, oil bunkering, people taking oil from pipelines illegally, not reporting actual production. Because one of the issues actually is that these companies, I won't call the names of these companies, international and local/indigenous companies, it's alleged that what they are actually, like, they underreport their production. So you could say, oh, we only drilled and produced about 100,000 barrels per day, when in actual sense you produced maybe 150,000. So you are not reporting the additional 50,000. These are part of the issues that we face in Nigeria. And the crude oil, or the oil and gas, contributes to about 90% of our foreign exchange. So let me explain this now, for example. Now, when you see the price of barrel of oil right now as we speak is about 81, 82. Right now as we speak, it is fluctuating, going up and down. That's world global price, and that is because of say the war going on in Russia and Ukraine, demand. At this time of the year, you have less people traveling. You have less need to drive your cars. So these things kind of like push up prices. If there's an incident maybe in a major refinery, or the US has lower amounts in their reserves, that is their crude oil reserves, then the price begins to go up. So what happens is that the Nigerian government uses the price of the barrel of crude oil to do its budget.
Yes.
So when I mean do its budget, I mean Nigeria will say, hey, this year at 1.2 million barrels per day, which is what they use, and they will say, okay, the benchmark price, maybe the price that World Bank or Goldman Sachs is projecting in the next year, 2023, for example, and then they say, because we are making this amount, this is the amount that is part of our revenue, and we use that to put a cap on the budget. So that is how they do Nigerian budgeting, using the price of crude oil and the amount of production. Now, it gets very interesting. Nigeria has one of the highest cost of production for a barrel of crude oil. Actually, for you to drill 1 barrel of crude oil in Nigeria, you are looking at about $18 to $20 per barrel. So for example, let's say the world price is $80 per barrel as we speak, because it's in that range. That is for Brent crude. Now, that particular price you take $20 out of it, then let's say it remains $60. Then out of that $60, you now have what's called joint ventures, NNPC and Chevron, NNPC and Shell, NNPC and Total, NNPC and ExxonMobil, NNPC and whatever IOCs are in there, NNPC and whatever indigenous companies are in there. And that is how they do the pricing. So they share it 50-50, 60-40. And that is the actual amount that comes into Nigeria. So now, why are we here today? We're here today because we have a serious dilemma in our oil and gas production, in our oil and gas sector. There are a lot of things that should be in place that are not in place. We are not getting the full benefits out of our oil and gas. And the sad thing is, the world is moving. For example, you have electric cars. The world is trying to move away from fossil fuels. But the fossil fuels are not going to go anywhere anytime soon, but they are going to phase out sooner rather than later. So how can we usurp a lot of benefits from it? I'll give you an example. A lot of people will say cooking gas is expensive, which is liquefied petroleum gas. It's expensive in Nigeria. You used to sell for this amount. Now we're selling for that amount, 10 kg and all of that, 5 kg cylinders and all. Now, we import about 60 to 70% of our cooking gas into the country. Now we have these NLNG plants in Nigeria, but the whole idea of NLNG back then was to create more foreign exchange. So they make or they process the gas and then you ship out. Back then, you didn't have a lot of Nigerians using cooking gas to cook, for example. But as time goes by, the demand kept on increasing. And as the demand keeps on increasing, the supply is low. So now, what are the plans? What are the governments setting in place? What are the governments setting on stone? And that is where Asiwaju comes in and saying, hey, these are my plans. These are the things I need to do. We're going to do here and there. So now, I'm just going to read the critical focus areas, and then how we do it typically. We pick like the main points and we discuss very briefly. But before we begin to talk about the main points, I'm just going to touch on, speak with the guys, tell me what you feel, what you even think about the oil and gas currently in Nigeria. Now, this is the action plan. Our plan is to create an industry which successfully utilizes its vast resources, takes advantage of the higher oil prices to generate necessary revenue for successful diversification, and ensure self-sufficiency in meeting demand for petroleum products and eliminating periods of scarcity. Now, to maximize the growth and development benefits of this vital sector, the Tinubu administration will implement policies to achieve the following key objectives. So now, their objectives, their goals, and that is what we're going to talk about. But before I move forward, I would like to hear from my co-conveners or co-anchors. What do you think about our oil and gas sector? Anything? And where we were or where we are? I just want to hear your views. So I'll start with the barrister. Even though I know this is not your specialty, even though I know you are the law guy, but talk to me.
Okay, yeah. So thank you for the opportunity, and today is a good day. It's not sunshine out there, but you know, it's still a good day when somebody wins something, and they win something real big. So I'm feeling good. So I believe that Asiwaju will win big with this oil and gas plan. The first thing I've noticed about this plan is that in this case it was kind of formatted differently. It says goal and solution. For every key one, they say goal and solution. And I went to other ones to see whether there is a format like that. And just because this is probably the most important thing in Nigeria to every Nigerian, because that is where the national cake is, and that's where most people bring all the knives to cut the national cake. And I think they put that into consideration to actually outline a solution-based plan. And one of the big ones is how they said increase indigenous share of crude oil production to over 1 MMPD by 2027, and getting the community involved. And I think that has been lacking for a very long time, because indigenous opportunities has not been encouraged or has been stifled by stakeholders. And having that in the plan, it shows that Asiwaju and his team are thinking in a broad-based, solution-based mentality. They also seem to understand the problem, underlying problem of the oil sector. And with this in place, I think a lot of people will be happy with it. And also the gas, they said the Nigerian gas master plan. I don't know what that is. I was trying to see whether there is more information on that, but maybe you guys will know. But I think Asiwaju will win big on this if he can bring in the right people, reduce theft, and then implement all these area surveillance and tracking using IT. That is my overview.
Thank you very much. I knew you were going to go into policies and all of that stuff, because actually we need people like you. We need you, because we can come and speak all the grammar and all the technicalities and have all the brains to do all the calculations and sizing of equipment. But if we don't get the contractual agreements right or correct, it's just going to all be in futility. And that is where you come in. Now, let me move to Yetunde. What are your thoughts?
I think, hello, everybody. Well, I think Lawyer she actually talked about a lot of things I want to talk about, which is particularly the indigenous people part. Because what is the essence of having a community that actually provides the chunk of your revenue, but the people there cannot even survive living in the environment? They can't do their home basic employment, which is fishery. They can't even do it because of the land degradation, the environmental impact of all this gas flaring and fossil fuel contamination. Unfortunately, over the years, government administration after administration have neglected that zone in collusion, as I always say, with the people, the leaders of those regions. Because yes, everybody can come on social media, go on TV and scream to be for the people. But a lot of times it turns out these people are for themselves and for their pockets and their family. Regular folks out there that needs assistance are not getting it. Even things that government put in place to help mitigate the effect of this on the people there. So I am glad that this action plan is not just talking about we will give money to this community. It's actually saying this is our goal and this is what we plan to do. So it's easy to say, well, to hold them accountable for it. So it's not something that is just broad and vague. It's very specific. So we can always say, okay, this is 2027. You said 1 million barrels per day. It's going to be for this community. So where is that community? So it's the implementation. Another thing that I'm happy about, which currently the Buhari administration is employing now, they are trying to do now. I don't know why they waited this long, considering we have a bilateral relation with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Aramco, I've known about Saudi Aramco utilization of technology to monitor their gas pipes. I've known about this since at least 2006 or 2007 that I've known about it. And it's a shame that we are just now using it. Of course, we know the reason why we would not want to employ technology is because technology will be able to plug the holes. And when people are benefiting from the illegal things, criminal things going on, they will fight against that. They will find something to justify it. So this Tompolo contract is a welcome idea, at least until they get the technology up and running, that is the end goal. The Polo contract is not forever. It's for a certain period of time until they can have what they want in place. So I'm happy that they want to go that route now, that we'll be able to do that. That will also help the Navy that is helping us, which goes to the regulatory framework. And then when we talk about the Nigeria gas master plan, is actually something that was formed since 2006, actually, and it's supposed to help us with cleaner gas and to be able to do all of that. So we have cleaner gas, we can go more gas route, and in fact, that is also the reason why we are trying to build this gas pipeline through Morocco and all that, going through Middle East to Europe. Yes, so that way we can. Of course, Europe is saying today they want to do renewable, tomorrow they are doing fossil fuel, which President Buhari has called them out on, like directly, because people think Buhari don't talk, but when he goes on what stage, he's quick to call these people out to their faces. They don't like that, but he does. So that because they did tell them recently that they speak from both sides of the mouth. Today they are telling their people one thing, and then they are coming to Africa to say one thing. So they really don't know. So if this can go, if they can complete this, and with Europe having, it depends on what they want to do. That is another source of revenue for us. So eventually, we will talk more on this as time goes on. I know. Bogoli is about to say, "Okay, stop now, stop," because I don't. So, but we'll talk more about it. That's why I fell off.
Because because of what happened like 2-3 hours ago, I'm trying to just bridle my tongue. I am trying to so that I don't act out of emotions today. I'm just trying to hold myself, not to act out of emotions. So, all right, moving forward, guys. So, one thing about the Asiwaju Manifesto is that you can actually get KPIs. What are KPIs? Key performance indicators. And go and hold him accountable and say, hey, according to your manifesto, it says we are going to hit this target at this time. And then you look at it. Oh, you met your KPIs by 70%. You met your KPIs by 0%. You met your KPIs by 95%. So it is very, very easy. You do not need rocket science to decipher that. Now, moving forward, the first one, which I have issues with anyway. I have issues with it anyway, this particular goal, but okay. Increase crude oil production to 2.6 million barrels per day by 2027 and 4 million barrels per day by 2030. What this means is, with all of these technologies they're going to put in place, with all of this security infrastructure they are going to put in place, with all of the welfare programs, with all of the national industrial and infrastructural policies that are going to put in place, with all of the employment opportunities they are going to put in place, we are going to be able to move our production from where we are today, which is about 1.2, 1.4, in 4 years, in 4 to 5 years, to 2.6 million barrels per day. I see it as being very possible. I see it as being very visible or viable. But now, why do I see it as being very viable? Because Tompolo coming in under 2 months, production has jumped up by almost 50%. And they always have making new discoveries. I don't know if these discoveries were not there before. You and myself, we know the answers. We can answer that question, because all of these things, it seems like they've been there for donkey years. But I will close my lips. I will see my lips. But now they are finding them, and we are grateful that they are finding them. Now, it is possible. Now, production to 2030 is also possible to 4 million barrels per day. But will OPEC accede or grant us such cap? Because we already have a cap of production. Now, I want to push in 2.6 million barrels per day in 2027. Where is the demand for that? Because right now, in world demand for barrel of oil per day is about 100 million barrels per day. That is what the world needs. So all of these companies, OPEC plus, non-OPEC, OPEC countries, everybody puts all of their production in a basket. And now, this is how much that we are producing and all of that stuff. 2.6, okay, yes, the world has eased, everything has eased off, there are no more issues whatsoever from the economical standpoint, fine. But now in 2030, you say you are going to increase it to 4 million barrels per day. Who is going to accept 4 million barrels per day? Now, what are the things that needs to be put in place to achieve that? Yes, the Ashwaju Manifesto speaks on that. The technology, the infrastructure, the policies, all three, talks about it in details. You know, talks about having a special enforcement monitoring unit. Now, bringing up that technology, like Yetunde rightfully said, the Saudi Aramco type model. We have these technologies in place, but will the Nigerian factor make it possible? And that is where Ashwaju comes in, because Ashwaju is an enforcer. He enforces by putting things into your hands. If you don't do it, this is the outcome from the system. It is not me that we enforce it. It is the system that we enforce it. Just like what he did in Lagos with ghost workers, which we'll talk about another day, not today. So
can I say a few things? Because, you know,
go ahead.
So I think that even if OPEC does not increase the threshold for production every year, I think there is a need for national reserve. You know, even if OPEC says that, hey, you can only sell 2 million, we say, okay, that's fine, but we just generated 2.6. And every day we create a reserve where, because that's where America drew some oil out for the purpose when we had this high inflation in oil sector and all that.
Yes.
So we could create that as things are going to create a reserve. So it does not necessarily mean that they have to be sold. Also, population increase. There will definitely be increase in population, increase in demand, and the fossil fuel, moving to sustainable fuel and all that has not really taken hold in the world generally, if not at least in the United States here, where you have not a lot of people are buying electric cars and all that. So I don't see that changing drastically in 5 years. I also believe that there are rooms for negotiation with OPEC, depending on what you can say about why your production is higher, what your people need to sell more, and if there is demand. There are so many countries that are not really buying to use; they are buying to save up somewhere, for reserve,
That makes
So
sense.
yeah, so you may not sell, they may not be able to buy at the exact amount, maybe $80. But if you want to sell because you have infrastructural budget, you want to fund, you have all these things, and you are willing to sell to those that don't really need it for $60 or $70, maybe that's possible, maybe not, I don't know. But I think Ashwaju is a deal breaker, and I think he must have thought about this and look at all the other ways that this might not be possible before coming up with this number. So I just think that it's still feasible. What do you think, man?
Yes, and there's one thing I'll add before you two goes ahead. There's one thing that I'll add also: exploration. Because for us to be able to prove that we are able, because I'm thinking that it is more of we have the capability to produce it, and then we are going to go into a lot of oil exploration. Like for example, the oil that was found in is it Gombe or Bauchi recently? I think it was in Bauchi. They said it's very good oil because Nigeria has 3 major oils that we sell, crude oils that we sell. We have Bonny Light. Bonny Light is where we have bread and butter. We have which is sweet crude. And sweet crude is it has lower amount of sulfur. Yes. So by meaning lower amount of sulfur, it means that you don't have to process it so hard for you to get your finished goods out of it. And it is not going to hurt your equipment. Yes, refinery. And it's not going to hurt your equipment as much. There's what we call fouling. Fouling means making it dirty, like you're fouling something. So it's having a lot of residues and all that. So it's minimal. So it puts less stress on your equipment. So, and we have Kwaibue, we have brass, and Bonny Light. So those are the 3 major ones that we sell.
Yeah.
Now, I was doing one analysis, and I looked at the Dangote refinery, for example, where this will come in handy, being able to hit this capacity. And Dangote refinery at full capacity is 650,000 barrels per day. Now, in the cut of crude oil, 45% of the cut of any barrel of crude oil is gasoline. 45. Then 20% is diesel. So now let's say gasoline, for example. And then we talk about and then when I did the math, it tells me that we are looking at about 46 million liters of gasoline per day. Because we are trying to be self-sufficient here. At the 2 points, to look at 650,000 barrels per day, how much gasoline can we produce out of that 650,000 barrels per day at full capacity? And that pushes me to about 46,000. Because today, if we look at it also, they say we are using about 55 million liters per day of gasoline, which I don't believe. Anyway, I think it's about 10 to 15.
You think it's too little or too much?
No, I think it's 10 to 15, and I'll tell you why. Oh. Why do I say so? I know because of time, we have to move real quickly, but I just want to explain some things to people. Remember 5-6 months ago when we imported a gasoline that has high methanol content? The one that they said was off spec. Remember in Lagos, all around Nigeria, that we're all freaking out. That they said they brought bad gasoline into the country. 6 months ago, does anyone remember?
I don't.
Oh, I remember very well. So when they brought it in, everybody was complaining, it's like water. The gasoline is like water. The fuel is like water in Nigeria. It's damaging our engines. They said it was 100 million liters of material they brought in. So in some places, they'll say we use 35 million. liters per day. So let's say 35 million liters per day, for example. So it is supposed to go a complete turnover. They're supposed to have a complete turnover by max 3 days. 3 days. Within 3 days, go into the system and come out of the system. Within 3 days. Go in and come out of this. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
3 days. But that thing lasted for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So if you do the math, it doesn't balance out. And we all know the fraud going on in what's it called? Oil subsidy and all that. But Yetunde, please speak real quick.
No, I think Sheyi have actually mentioned it, but your question was, would OPEC agree to increase if needed?
Yes.
I mean, they just did it. We were at 1.6 and they increased us to 1.776 or something like that. Let's just say 1.8. And that's because of Total that happened, the Total Enigma that just happened recently. So because of that, because Total is going to start exploring that. So they increased it. And the reason is because most times, even when they ask for cut, Nigeria never meets their quota of cutting. We don't.
Yes.
We always go over by 200, 300, 400%. We never meet our quota of cutting. So let's just even say that. So the fact that they even still increased it, I think if needed, they will increase it. Besides, Nigeria is also trying to find a way of separating, making their data more transparent and make more sense. Because a lot of times they are counting what we produce. It's not necessarily natural, not crude. They are also counting our condensate as part of it, which is separate. Yes. So, but they are hiding it. For people out there that are wondering what are we talking about, because now that making it too technical. Condensate can turn around to become the petrol, the jet fuel, and all that. They will be able to use all of this. But they are counting that as part of the crude, and they are trying to separate it and say, no, our condensate accounts for about 400 to 500,000 million per barrel per day, not necessarily the crude that they are producing. So we need to figure out that. So we need to show, for us too, a lot of times we put ourselves in problem too because we are not transparent, and that's because of the people that like to rip the system off. So being transparent is really not one of the things that we do best. So I figured that if we can show our paper like we are not doing this, and of course the population growth, and then we have more of this thing, they can't tell us not to explore, and so they will give us rate increase if need be, and also we need reserve. And then with the Russia situation going on, if the rest of Europe still decide to still cut Russia off, Russia is part of OPEC, but somebody needs to supply these people too. So Nigeria still needs to be able to give Europe what Europe wants, which is fuel. They need the natural gas and stuff. So I think we'll be able to do what's needed.
Now the next one, which is very interesting. Asiwaju says that he wants to increase indigenous participation and host community development. Asiwaju says that he wants the indigenous companies to actually have, out of all of these cuts, all these 1.6 million barrels per day, 2 million barrels per day, 4 million barrels per day, is looking at indigenous company having a share of 1 million barrels per day. I think that is fantastic.
That is remarkable. If it's done, it's remarkable.
If it is implementable, that is very.
And let them keep the money in Nigeria, not go and keep it.
The only thing is this. Like every other programs that governments have in Nigeria, to be sincere, a lot of programs have been out there, like the NDDC now. We've seen them audited recently, and we are all aware of over 1,200 contracts that were awarded to people from those regions that were supposed to do the contracts. And these people got the money and they never did it. Of course, the government, these were things that were contracts that were awarded years ago. But now, at least this everything is out now. This administration is trying to go after them and trying to see if they can get the money back or take them to the court. But that comes to government oversight too, because we know that a lot of Nigerians, in fact, not a lot of Nigeria, many Nigerians don't really know how to fight for their right. And that goes to the issue of Naira, which we didn't talk about when we talked about agriculture, because the case was not out then. Now it's more popular, everybody knows about it. So government needs to do its own part to make sure that we avoid situations like that, where the people in charge are actually the ones not making this programs successful, sabotaging these programs, and the people in that community are actually not benefiting from this. Because currently, the foreign companies in this community, Shell and Chevron and all that, they have programs and initiatives that are in place for this area, except the people that actually are supposed to be the representatives of this community are the ones really benefiting from it, and is not translating to anything on the ground for the people.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Mr. Olu,
at this space,
flip
we
your
want to hit our target. Mr. Olu, can you turn your camera this way so we can see you very well? Because I'm twisting and turning my neck.
Yes.
Please, sir.
Yes. I'm trying to turn it also because, you know, the iPad, the way it's showing it, is showing that, is it okay like this? Or I should turn it again?
Turn it, sir. Turn it on your own. No, the other way. Turn it on your own. Turn it on your own. No, turn it on your own. No, one more time. One more time. Fantastic. Fantastic. Welcome. Now let's go. All right. So now, the next one is full deregulation of midstream gas prices within 6 months, increase gas production by 20%, and complete critical gas infrastructure projects by 2027. Now, those are very beautiful plans. The first one is achieving full deregulation of midstream prices. I like that one because, contrary to public opinion, most of our electricity is produced by gas-powered turbines. Growing up, they will only tell us, what would they tell us? Kanji Dam. There's no water in Kanji Dam. It's Kanji Dam this, it's Kanji Dam that. But about 80% of our power is from gas-powered turbines. It's not even the hydro-powered turbines. So now what Ashiwaju is saying is that we are going to put more focus on using gas-powered turbines. And by using more focus, putting more focus in gas-powered turbines, midstream is actually processing. Because upstream is the oil exploration and drilling. Midstream is how you process it. Then, and the transportation in there. Then down the midstream. Then downstream is, okay, we're transporting it down to the end users. So that's how these things work. So now he's saying we are going to invest, and that means that we are going to have more gas plants in Nigeria, which will create more job opportunities for the people, which will be able to refine our gas. Now, this is about gas here now. This is not even about the crude oil. Because one thing that Ashiwaju talks about, or he talks about in his manifesto in the oil and gas, is it separates them. There is crude oil matter. There is gas matter. Because Ashiwaju understands the importance of gas. When I mean gas, natural gas. And what natural gas? The potential of natural gas. It's natural gas when you refine it that you use for your cooking. It's natural gas when you refine it that you use it for your heating and cooling. It's natural gas that you use to make some different type of products. Natural gas is very, very, very important for all and sundry in Nigeria. Now also talks about increasing gas production. Now increasing gas production so that we can also sell and make money. Because We have, I think, the 7th highest reserves in natural gas across the world, about over 200 trillion cubic feet. That's what we have in reserves. And we are not done exploring. We are not done exploring. So, and the last one is critical gas infrastructure projects. Now, that's why I talked about the the Nigerian master plan on gas. So I was doing some research on it, and they pretty much update that gas plan. And basically, the gas plan is just putting Nigeria first in everything. Exploration, processing, and the right policies to make more money, more wealth for Nigeria, and to make better use of our gas. Now, guys, if we can get this particular part that Ashiwaju is talking about very well, there's a likelihood that our electricity price may go down, because about 60 to 80% of production of electricity is tied directly to the price of gas. Right now, internationally, gas is selling for about $6 per million British thermal units. Now, when I mean BTU, British thermal units, just basically how much? Okay, $6. These $6 will buy you 1 million energy units. So this energy, this way they measure it in BTU, these $6 will provide you 1 million of that heating value, that energy value. That's what it means basically. So, Mr. Olu, let me throw you into the fire, because I know they talked about pipelines that they are going to fix. Because one thing I noticed about the Buhari administration is the fact that they are not going to go and do white elephant projects. Projects that have already been awarded, they are going to re-award and fix them. Just like the second Niger bridge that Shehu Shagari promised Southeasterners since the 70s. Obasanjo promised them. Yaradua promised them. Even Jonathan promised them recently. But he's gone there to do it actually. So that's what we're talking about here. Pipelines, for example, all this critical infrastructure. So these are things that they've already looked at, like, oh yes, we need to do this, we need to do that. But we have not done it yet. So he's saying, I'm going to complete all of these projects. So Mr. Olu, let me throw you right on the fire.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. You know, you didn't even ask me how I did it, and I was able to send you a request. So what I did was to, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so what I did was to update my Instagram on iPad. So those features now came up.
Wow, that's nice. Nice to hear.
So basically,
now, go ahead.
There is something we are not even discussing from this. Okay. You remember when Tinubu went to Chatham House to have a conversation, and when they asked him questions on oil theft and all that, so he threw the questions to one of his, he delegated the question to one of his entourage, and the person answered quite well how they're going to handle it, but he finished the submission on that particular situation by saying, we've not talked about the real solution to the oil theft. He said, when you talk of oil theft, what about the receiver? You know, we need to go and listen to that Chatham House program, the way he handled the whole thing. When some people say he's delegating. Do you understand? He said, what about the receiver? You know, focusing on the receiver, those who are receiving, because if there's nothing to receive, there will be nothing to sell. If there's no receiver, there will be nothing to sell. So actually is already looking at solving the problem from the receiver end. And it is good to say, now if I say, you know, we always say that Tinubu is the architect of modern Lagos. And people will say, no, you're what of Fashola, what of Ambode, and all those things. I can quietly tell you also, with what Buhari administration has put in place, I can tell you that Buhari is the architect of modern Nigeria. Because now we have an infrastructural plan which this administration, the Buhari administration, has embarked upon. They have different way of funding infrastructure, roads, and the rest. They have, private sector, private partnership. They have sukuk bond. They have so many things. Do you understand? And with respect to, the oil, they already have some agreement to transport gas to Europe and the rest. Which Tinubu is going to continue on. There's another aspect which we are not even looking at in our conversation. I've heard you talk about we are not meeting our oil quota system with OPEC and all that. Yeah. Ashwadi is already looking at that. Ashwadi is already looking at that. And that's why he's having meeting with those real players in the oil sector. Remember the last time he went to Bayelsa and Delta to meet all these militants. I mean, I'm talking about Tompolo and the rest. He went to meet them to have a dialogue, to talk with them. We are going to witness a very peaceful, era in the Niger Delta when Tinubu becomes the president, because he doesn't relate with the elite alone. He relates with everybody, and he wants to ensure that, okay, there's peace in whatever it will take to achieve peace in every region. That's what Tinubu is bringing to the table. It will shock you to know that by the time Tinubu becomes president, even this quota we are talking about, we are going to surpass it. Okay. You understand?
Now let me.
I remember there was a time in Lagos when this Agbero. I remember there was a time in Lagos when this Agbero was really a big menace. You understand? Because you can't completely eradicate them because they are member of a union. They call them National Union of Road Transport Workers. So you can't take them off. But he was able to manage them. He was able to manage them, and there was peace in Lagos to a large extent. And this is kind of the dialogue he's having with all the stakeholders in the Niger Delta, so that we can meet all those quota system and all those things. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. I just released you, and you are just going on and on and on and on. If we do like this, we'll not finish today. Thank you. Now, let me move to.
Don't worry, Bongoni. Everybody on, there are people that love to have intelligent discussion, so they love it. So.
Okay. All right, no problem. Thank you. But because of time, we have to move. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the Petroleum. Oh, I keep laughing. No problem. Petroleum Industrial Act. Now, I have not read the PIA from start to finish, but I have an idea of what the PIA is. And Ashwaju is saying is going to further implement the PIA, because the PIA is to provide legal, governance, regulatory, and fiscal framework for the Nigerian petroleum industry. It is just basically saying, hey, we want to put Nigeria first. We do not want IOCs getting the larger chunks. We also want to get the larger chunks of the money. We also want to involve our indigenous companies in this. We are going to get our revenue differently. We are going to pump in more money to our industry, our communities, host communities. We are going to ensure that we attract investments from local and international investors. That is what the PIA is saying. So it's saying we are going to implement it. It has been signed into law, but it is not implemented like it's supposed to. Because when we talk about like writing a law, the House passing the law, the President signing the law, and then you now have implementation of the law. Because when we talk about implementation, we're talking about having the political will to actually implement it. Because, like Yetunde rightfully said, there are a lot of beautiful policies out there, but there are a lot of systems out there, technologies there. But if you bring these technologies in, there are some people that will not be feeding anymore. So they will keep on frustrating. So if you go and read the Petroleum Industrial Act, I think of 2021, if you go read it, it is very well detailed. However, will the people let you implement it? Ashwaju is saying, I will implement it. So I'll talk to Mr. Bisiri on just briefly, because we have 2 more points, and then people can ask their questions on oil and gas. The political will and implementation of acts or bills in Nigeria, like how challenging is it? Like we're talking about the Petroleum Industry Act. We already know what it entails. It's just to make Nigeria get more chunks of the money, develop our nation from an oil and gas standpoint, bring in more investors and all of that, and reduce pollution, to the barest minimum. So now I want you, from your own legal standpoint, how challenging is it, or how challenging will it be for Asiwaju, and how will Asiwaju implement like the actualization of the PIA in 2 minutes? I'm timing you, sir. 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I think the biggest part of passing a law, passing a bill into law, is first, putting together the stakeholders based on the House of Rep and going to Senate, the committees that actually work on the provisions of the act first, and then moving it up to Senate for them to vote and passing it to the president for his signature or return back for amendments and then passing it. So once he becomes president, the biggest part of it, one part, that is the 50% of it is done. That is that he has the power to sign it into law if he has interest in that bill and he has the political will. The other part is whether there are other stakeholders that will make it impossible. Now, I think it has gone past the House of Rep stage. I think it's still in the Senate right now or something,
It's actually been passed. It's already passed. It has already been passed. As a matter of fact, it's already been implemented. One of the things that were supposed to be done was be making NNPC a limited company, and it is already incorporated. It's going to go public. So NNPC doesn't need budgetary allocation from Nigerian government. NNPC is not going to be governed by Nigerian government per se. It is going to have
Wait, and tell people that NNPC said they are not going to be putting money into the federal allocation.
Yes, because the reason why they can't do that is because now NNPC it's not going to be Nigerian government that is paying their employees. NNPC is going to be a publicly traded company that you and I can buy their shares. I'm a shareholder. I expect dividend. My dividend is not to Nigerian government. It's not to anybody's whatever account. It is to they are now going to be answering to the shareholders. So just like any private organization.
Thank you very much for speaking to that. But what I'm trying to get from Barrister Bisiriyu is where we are right now. It's been implemented, we're implementing it, but it is not fully implemented like you expect it, like the president has signed it. So what is holding up, what holds us back? I'm saying, you say, no, yesterday, hold on. This is for Barrister Bisiriyu. I am not just asking, I'm not asking it because it's the Petroleum Industry Act. This is like learning for us and people that are watching us. Like what's inhibits or stops us from being able to implement these laws, even though the president has signed it, is passed in the House. And this one, for example, and what stands Asiwaju out in fully implementing this act or this bill? Thank you very much. That's what I want to find out. One more minute.
And that's what sets Asiwaju aside from all the other competitors, is that he has influence in every part of Nigeria. You see, running for presidency in Nigeria is not about just how smart you are. It is how much of a deal maker. Yes, deal maker that you are. And from the way he has started with his campaign, we saw that he prioritized certain institutions, starting with the traditional ruler, then moving on gradually either to certain groups and then to those that are stakeholders in the government, and gradually moving now to the people, So there is a plan on his campaign outcome. And that is the way it's going to work with this, because there have been stakeholders that make a lot of money if this implementation does not come into place. You know, we can also relate that to the NILSA Director General, you know, that we read about.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. That's very sad.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is that there's an allegation there that he's supposed to wait every 4 years to change his vehicle. And in 5 years, he changed his vehicle 5 times. According to the regulation, he should wait for 4 years, and his time of office is just 5 years. But he is the custodian of the people's money, and he still flouted the regulation that puts him in office. My point is that you need a certain level of monitoring of the right kind of people in the right places to follow the rule, so that you can have a law that is covering every aspect of a particular thing in Nigeria or in a system, but you have people who are working for the system, but making sure the law itself is not implemented. So if Asiwaju, as he has done in Lagos, he has brought in the right set of people that make the law work, new policies work. And if they can be subject to that particular regulation, implementation will be easy. We are talking about people who get the people's purse, and they are the one looting it directly. And this is the Director General. Now, so when we come to the petroleum area, that is a lot of money. You are not talking 500 million anymore. We are talking in billions. So he needs that deal-making skill of his to first reach out to some of the stakeholders, either traditional, and then move on to the government, and then to the people. That's where the community, community part of it might become important. That let the community get involved, and let's see how that works. But I think that is his skill. He has done it for 40, 30 years, and I think he's going to do it better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, let's do this here, because I'm looking at time. We just have only 10 more minutes. I want to work with 10 minutes. We have 2 topics we need to talk about. I also want people to ask questions on oil and gas in Nigeria. 10 more minutes. Now, ensure stability of petroleum product supply. Now, this is removal of fuel subsidy, basically. So, Yetunde.
Okay, so
policy, how will he be able to achieve steady supply?
Okay. The first step in all of this is this PIA. In fact, it's the boldest thing anybody in Nigerian government has ever done. It's very audacious, because there's so much scam, the way we say it now, in this whole subsidy, and even in the getting the oil, taking it for refining and everything. And I know people have been screaming, IOCs are leaving Nigeria. That's a lie. They are not leaving Nigeria. They are deciding to move either from upstream to downstream, or just sticking with upstream, or not involving themselves in midstream. The problem is a lot of people don't even know the difference between upstream, midstream, downstream. So you can Google it, but upstream is the exploration part of it. Midstream is the ones they have. The midstream is the transportation and everything, gas piping, and the downstream is the refining and everything, and turning to petrol. So just that's so that way you can. Kenny, I hope you got what we just shared now. So that's the difference. So upstream, exploration; midstream, the transport, the logistics of it, pipeline and all that. Then downstream is the refinement and everything turning. So that is the difference. So with the refining now is where we get a lot of issues, because all these people say that they are taking our oil from Nigeria, taking it overseas to go and refine it and then bring it back, except that even the United States gave record, at least the most recent one is Desiani. They gave records that of all she did, which has been, court has already found her guilty. So it's not like she's still suspect. She's not suspect anymore. That she did under her, including, of course, now that we are finding all these pipelines by Tompolo, of course, thank God, that oil will be taken from our shores but never get to where it's supposed to be. And then they recorded that we got this oil back. Same thing with, I was watching something recently. One guy was fighting some tankers that want to take our oil that is supposed to be going to communities around that place, trying to take it across border to, I think, Cameroon or be to Niger or something like that. Yeah, so, you know, so those are the things. And you can't tell me that big people don't know about this. So they know. So we need to remove subsidy. The only difference is that when we remove subsidy, you know, we know Nigerians. Woli Agba, I don't know if anybody follows him. You know, today he was talking about Nigeria. I want to report Nigerians to Nigerians. That because people should stop talking about government. We are wicked people. Let me just put it that way. Because when we say if government removes subsidy today, and even if they don't increase the cost or that the bus driver buys fuel, but the bus driver will still turn around and say, they've removed subsidy. So I'm turning this 100 naira journey to 1,000 naira. So now what Ashwaju is planning to do is it's going to be a phased out subsidy, but it's definitely going to be removed. But before we remove that, we need to put certain things in place. Our transportation networks needs to be better, whether the ones provided by government or the ones we do in partnership with private organizations, or giving an enabling environment for private investors to come in. Like Lagos now, we have all this, besides Uber in Nigeria now, we have all these other ones in Lagos. I don't know the second one that people are always like, they are crazy drivers. But so, yeah, so, you know, we want to have that available so that when you remove it, we can cushion the effect of that. And that is really what handicapped Buhari, because he feels like people are already suffering now and he doesn't want to add to their suffering. That's what he gave. That was the interview he gave in June, the reason why he didn't remove it. So that is the Ashwaju plan, but it's definitely going to be removed. And this is where his skills comes into play. As a matter of fact, on Monday, which is tomorrow, I believe, Ashwaju will be meeting with the labor leaders, Labor, NLC, Nigerian Labor Congress, the labor leaders, because he knows labor is already saying, no, we are going to fight subsidy removal. And it's going to, so he's going to be meeting with them, so at least he can, because the thing is, in a situation like this, it affects everybody. So you need all hands on deck. You want to get everybody's opinion. You want to get everything. They know how to work with him. They worked with him. Oshiomhole will tell you about how he went to talk to.
Thank you very much. Now that I said, because I have to move to the next one because of time. Because of time.
He likes to cut me off.
It's time. Because of time. I can't leave you. I can't leave you. I'll be cutting you off. I can't leave you. I have to be hard on you. If I start seeing you, I may not be that hard, you know, because once I take time up, it just lets me go. Olu might just talk for like maybe like 10 seconds and it just go. But you, no, please, can I say one thing? Can I say one thing? No. So I was like, no, it's okay. But now, there was something you said. There's something you said which is very critical. And it is ideological in nature. You said he's going to go and meet Nigerian Labour Congress and trade unions and all of that, right? NLC have always been against the removal of fuel subsidy. If you remember in Nigeria during Obasanjo's time, when Adams Oshiomhole, comrade and Adams Oshiomhole was fighting against Obasanjo when he wanted to remove subsidy, you know, price that goes back and forth and all of that. They shut the country down. They shut the whole country down. So NLC, Labour Congress have always been pro don't remove fuel subsidy. But now there is a party that the political party side of that party of that group is saying that they want to remove subsidy. They want to remove subsidy. You see the confusion?
Yes.
It's not a jab because I know some of their supporters are here, but Labour Congress is saying one thing. The party that came from Labour Congress is saying another thing. So see the confusion there. So Ashwaju
does that
is not.
So does that mean Ashwaju will be, as we have said, a skillful negotiator if he can find a way to make them come on board? Because if their party, the arm of their political party, is in favor of moving the subsidy, removing it, and the civil part of it, the civil movement part of it, are saying no. And Ashwaju, being an outsider from both parts, can come and meet with them tomorrow and maybe find something. We don't know what will happen, but if we can find something, does it not mean that there is always a room for negotiation, even when ideology is different, provided the right person is making the deal?
I agree.
Yes, I agree. And I think he can negotiate. We've heard Oshiomhole talk about when he was the leader of NLC and Asiwaju was the governor, and they said, if you don't pay our people, and he said, look, this is my account. Lagos doesn't have money. And Oshiomhole said, he told him, Mr. Governor, that's your own headache. We just need our money. And he started thinking outside the box. He made money. And he paid them. That one thing he's good at is he worked with them. He showed them. You see, I think there's a reason why he's more of a unifier. There are some people call themselves a unifier.
I'm looking for trouble. Because
the thing is that, yes, families fight. But how do you reconcile your family? We all fight, even husband and wife fight. But you should be able to. It's when we talk about politics, is give and take. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Yeah. But some people don't see it like that. They think, oh, Asiwaju has control of this. No, he has control because knowledge is not power. Knowledge is leverage. That's what people don't know. If he has something that is a leverage, that is his own to use. When he has leverage, he's not a middle. So
you have dropped bombshell. You have dropped the bombshell. Now let me move to the last part so that the people can ask questions. So this is going to go to Olu now, because I know you are in the finance, economy, and all of that stuff. So Asiwaju says increase investment in infrastructure and technology. The goal is to secure public-private partnerships and international partnerships towards financing infrastructure development. And he talked about the Saudi Aramco example. So basically, what Asiwaju is saying here is that I'm going to bring investors through public-private partnership to come and help develop, both local and international, to help develop our infrastructure. When we say infrastructure, we're talking of, for the most part, midstream and downstream, like pipe networks for midstream, and then downstream for refining and processing. So, what are your views on that?
Okay. Let me start by saying first,
in 2 minutes.
Okay,
in 2 minutes.
First and foremost, the process has already begun. Now, when Asiwaju is talking about Aramco and using technology, he actually did in fact, Tinubu was part of the people that set up their financial process in Aramco when he was in the law.
Wow.
Now, the issue is this. What he's looking at, regarding to our Nigerian situation is that, first and foremost, NNPC has been deregulated, it has been privatized and all that. But however, we are talking about PIA now, PIA bill. There's an aspect of it which is regulatory. Do you understand? As a regulatory body, there are technology for you to guide your assets. So that is where the concentration will lie. Let me give you a very good example. Our waterways. Remember what Jide Sanwo-Olu launched in Lagos recently? He launched the
Waterway Authority. There's that control room to monitor.
Last one.
How to secure the waterway so that if there's any accident or whatever or anything is moving around, there is technology to that, and that's what Tinubu is saying. Do you understand? Exactly the way you have it in Saudi Arabia, so that you will know that if they are moving crude oil from point A to point B, there's a technology that will see it. There's a technology, and before now, one of the challenges we have is that government is actually doing everything. They will have control of crude oil. NNPC will have control of exporting it. NNPC will have control of you know, bringing the imports to Nigeria. So when you reduce this responsibility, I think what government will now be focusing on is securing those assets. Because if you have privatized the exploration, you have privatized the refinery, by the time by the time Dangote refinery comes on stream now, we may not have this challenge again. Do you understand? So the government, it will now give the government room to focus on securing those assets with technology. Do you understand? You already have a very good agreement with the community. You know, he has been moving around, talk to Tompolo, talk to all the militants, those that are involved in all those stakeholders. Then you add in technology as another layer. So now we go ahead in securing the asset. There will be reason for investors to come in, because when they know that their investments is secure, definitely they will come in. So those are the parts that is lacking. Those are the parts that is lacking in the current agreement we have. And you mentioned something. I need to quickly talk about that. They have talked about it, which is
30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And you have not talked about public-private partnership. So 30 seconds. Round up. 30 seconds.
Okay. Which is removing subsidy. Do you get? Subsidy. You know, he is going to work this arrangement out. You know, for Lagos it's easy because we already have a transportation system which they can leverage on. So which they can subsidize, and Lagos already know how much, you know, BRT and all those things. They already have it. It's just that most states are not growing, and I'm sure that's what you mean by phasing out this whatever. Then the private partner PPP we are talking about, it's already in motion. That's why I don't even want to talk about it. Do you understand?
Okay.
Because MTN is fixing some road as we speak. Dangote is fixing some road as we speak. Those are PPP. They're already doing it. Tinubu is just going to build on it. That's why I don't want to talk about that. You know, Tinubu mentioned something. He said he's going to divide Nigeria into 6 regions. There will be 6 regional agencies. The whole essence is for them to be able to, you know, put up all this infrastructure, put up what they need to ensure. Because the truth of the matter is this: what do we need fuel for? You know, I always ask this question because we need to be asking ourselves this question. It's very important. Remember when I asked, what do we need dollar for? What do you need fuel for? You need fuel to power your generator. So if there is light, that will reduce your dependency on fuel. If they're able to sort out power issue, that will go a long way. You need fuel to fuel for transportation system. You know, somebody like me, I can buy fuel, I can buy a liter for fuel for 500 naira per liter. But the public, can they buy it like that? No. So they use transport system. So if you can subsidize a transport system, if you have a system that subsidizes, you have an effective transport system, maybe a place that's supposed to be 300 naira, they are paying 100 naira. It is possible. It's just for you to know, it's just for you to have those structures. So that's basically what I think he's going to do. Yeah.
Thank you. Now let me say something here. Guys, start asking your questions because we are going to round up in 3 minutes. Guys, start asking your questions on oil and gas so we can answer. So now, I read in the news today that Kaduna State has gone to secure a $6 million loan to build bus rapid transport system. So that is the BRT, and they also want to have light rail. That is something they're doing in Lagos and replicating. So I just wanted to respond to Mr. Oli when he talked about maybe other states doing similar things and all that. Now, many other states are coming on board. They've always been coming on board on different things, like agencies, job creations, and all that. But now we are seeing it now that the states, Kaduna State, saying, hey, we too want to have BRT. Hey, we too want to have our own metro rail system. And also, something about the PPPs. Because Lagos State, for example, they actually have an office of PPP only, where it's all PPP. They have an office for PPP. What PPP does is that PPP doesn't expose public to full-blown capitalism, because capitalism comes with exploitation. Capitalism has good and bad parts. If it's private, yes, they'll look for the maximum money and all of that. Like you make the maximum money, maximum profit and all of that. But it also comes with greed. It also comes with exploitation. It also comes with cutting benefits. So when you look at public-private partnership, which Nigeria is doing right now, and Asiwaju is the master of it, it is such that I do not want to expose my people to full-blown capitalism, and also so they don't get the full effect of the price of a certain of a certain good or service.
So,
for example,
it's called social capitalism, sir.
Socio-capitalism. Socio-capitalism, that's the word. Yes, thank you. I didn't want to use that word. I didn't want to use it. Because I think about this thing every day of my life. I mean what you just said now. What kind of system is Nigeria running on? And I think myself and Yetide may have had that conversation in the past, where myself and Yetide spoke extensively on public-private partnership. Nigeria runs more on a social capitalist society, because you have to bear in mind that we don't have that purchasing power to be exposed to full-blown capitalism. Plain simple.
Yes.
Sorry.
Simple.
Look at our university. Look at our university system. It's more or less like the cheapest in the world, and we have so many universities. And you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you see, that in itself is not the value of the education itself. It is the quality of what is impacted on the students and some of the research and development. Universities are known for research and development.
I agree with you.
That's where
I agree with you.
So
I'm just buttressing the fact that we are into more of social, and all those things. I'm just buttressing that fact. But I agree with you.
And it's just the mentality of our people. You see, you cannot just incorporate a strict capitalism into Africa. It never works. It will not work.
Exactly.
It's impossible.
We need to. My own thing is, and I think I mentioned this when Ayo and I were talking. We said that one thing about not just Nigeria, because Bongoli, Ayo, that's the person that's the host, because they have said that on our flyer, because you have your first name there. Because
tell you something. What's about to end? I'll tell you something. Since the people are not asking questions, but go ahead.
Okay. It's not just, even besides just Nigeria, like the whole of Africa, we need to have our own form of democracy, because it's not all capitalism. We need to tweak it, because it's not always like, just because they do it one way, we have to do it like that, and that's one of the things that made me laugh when people were talking about, the Chatham House, the format, and I was saying, and I told somebody, I said, you know what makes a great leader? A great leader is somebody that that is not afraid to go outside the norm, because going outside the norm is what makes you an innovator. So you don't have to conform.
And
there's no reason for you to conform.
In the Middle East, the American campaign, some of the lessons learned was that they realized that you cannot, the culture of Middle East require a strong man at the top.
Yes.
You cannot just they respect strong people at the top. Now, below the strong man, you can have a bicameral legislature that are just advising either the king or the ruler.
Yes.
So what we coined during my master's for government is theo-capitalism. So it's theocracy with capitalism add to it. Because they realized that it wasn't working. They tried to introduce democracy, and these people just don't like that we have to discuss before we are do something. No, they want the guy to say, this is what I want to do. And from the bottom up, everybody just put together to get it done.
So think about it. When Africa, before the advent of white people coming, colonization and all that, when we were practicing our own form of government and all that, it seems like even people have, besides the small world, they always fight amongst themselves. The cities themselves, the city-states, they have governing council that makes the law, like you already know, this is the law of our village. You cannot trespass there. Yeah, everybody have their thing that they follow, and the rules, you can't just go steal things that belong to the community because there are consequences.
Let me surprise you. We have to go now. I'm about to surprise you because we have to go now. I won't let you land with that. But I will support what you are saying. Lagos State has the Governance Advisory Council.
Yes, they have the GAC. Yes, that is true. That's true. They have the GAC. Yeah.
So Lagos State kind of like operates in that system, kind of, meaning that the people that are running Lagos State, for example, understand the Lagosians to that extent. And we'll talk about this at a later time. We'll talk about education at a later time because this is in Barrister Olusheyi's territory when we're talking about all of this democracy and this and that. It's going to be very interesting and exciting. We are still going to get to is it devolution of powers or something? Maybe that's weak.
Yeah.
Yes, somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. Decentralization and all of that stuff is there. And we'll talk about education. Don't worry. Education is 2 weeks from now because next week is going to be transportation and 2 weeks from now is going to be education. Don't worry. We'll talk about it, guys. Now, on that note, I want to thank everybody so much. I hope that our people have been able to learn one or two things about our oil and gas sector, where we were, where we are, and what the Ashwaju administration is, probable Ashwaju administration will be bringing to the table. And I want to thank everyone very much. I know it is not easy to keep gathering people every Sunday, every Tuesday, and all of that stuff. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, that people don't see. So I want to thank Barrister Sheyi very much. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Yetunde, the woman that I always say kind of like knows it all, even though she tries not to admit.
Everything.
I can't like say she knows it, kind of knows it all. So that's why I put kind of, because if I say she knows it all, it's a problem. I just say kind of, but she knows what we mean. And our financial guy, our economy and financial man, Mr. Olu, that said that he got mad at me a little bit because he said, you did not even ask me how I even figured it out. I'm sorry once again. How I figured it out for you joining the live. I'm sorry once again. Well, until then, and thank you very much for trying to fix the problem. Because that's something about the people that support Ashiwaju. We don't complain. We want to go and fix. And what people don't realize is that we may know these issues, the root cause is better than you, that you are complaining. Because if we ask you, why is it that our oil and gas sector is this way, you may not have an answer. If we ask you, because we did power last week, why is it that we have issues in power? The issues is transmission. Okay, why is it that transmission is giving us issues? Why is it that distribution is giving us issues? Can you talk about it? Can you talk about why we don't have employment? Oh, there are no jobs. There are no jobs. There's no what? Why? Can you talk about it? So we don't bother ourselves with that because we know that for the most part because we've been doing our researches not because of the Ashiwaju administration thing or the elections. Way before then, we've been involved in this. Now Ashiwaju is saying it's going to do this and do that. So now we are looking at solutions. So I want to implore people here, quit complaining. Go and look for solutions. But first, you want to look for solutions, you have to understand the root causes. Understand the root causes first, and yes, we can now look for the solutions. And on that note, I want to thank everyone very much for joining. Do have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. To the people that are supporting Mercy, you guys should go and enjoy yourselves. Me, I'll just be on my bed crying, and all that stuff because I really wanted to see Mercy cry. But
I'm one of his supporters.
Yes,
I know.
Well, no, but me, I wish you, I've said congratulations. So
officially, what just happened made Lionel Messi the greatest player of all time.
That's not true. That's not true. Cristiano Ronaldo comes from a strong country. Portugal is not a strong football nation.
The only thing he has not won is World Cup.
That's
what
Good night, everyone. Bye bye. Good night, everyone. Bye.